So are you ready to PR yourself? We'll remove the mystery from all things PR, and we'll discuss everything from our top strategies to tips and tricks and everything that you can utilize to further enhance your brand or your message. I've been in media, I'm a journalist, and I'm also a publicist. I am Leah Frazier, CEO of Think3 Media, and your host for PR Yourself with Leah Frazier. Let's go. And welcome back to another episode of PR Yourself with Leah Frazier. I am your host, Leah Frazier, CEO of Think3 Media, based out of Dallas, Texas. And I am so happy to be back with each and every one of you. The tea is piping hot. You hear me? The tea is hot. I cannot keep up with all the celebrity gossip, all of the PR hot topics that's going on right now. I've got people texting me and DMing me on updates on things that we've talked about. And it's so much to cover in a week. And I generally, when things come up, I'll put a note in my notepad in my phone and I'm like, that would be good to talk about on the show. Or maybe it's a issue that we can discuss with experts, or some of you have tuned in when we live stream our PR roundtable, and it's coming in so quick. I can't keep up with it. So it's just been absolutely insane. Just last week, Cowboy Carter tickets dropped with Beyonce, and that is another marketing genius mayhem that was created with that. And I have my thoughts on that. And yes, I did get my tickets. I knew when I saw that it was not a regular tour, and when I saw that Beyonce was only going to very little U.S. cities with very little amount of time in each city, I was not even trying to go see Cowboy Carter in the U.S. I had already had my mind made up that I was going to go see her overseas, and particularly probably in London, because I've never been to London before. And fun fact, just recently here in Dallas, I met up with a wellness brand called Neom, Neom Wellness. We just had some coffee, and of course I had coffee. She had tea, the brand founder, and was just talking about wellness and everything. But it sparked like my interest for the UK. And I told her, like, look, I'm coming because I'm trying to go see Cowboy Carter. And they were so generous. They're like, oh, we'll give you our pre-sale code. And I'm like, girl, I'm Beehive, so I've already got my pre-sale to the pre-sale code, but thank you. So they were just so generous that I was very confident in my decision that I was going to go see Beyonce in London. So I am headed to London June 10th for Cowboy Carter, and all of that was going on. And then there was something else that dropped this week where I'm like, y'all are just coming for all of my coins, just every single last one of them. Oh my gosh, it's just too much going on. So all of that's going on. And on top of that, there's just a lot of commotion online. And so normally right now I would do a PR hot topic, but I thought this was very interesting that there was a journalist that was covering celebrity and politics and communications. And so when the inquiry came through, I forgot what publication it was for, but pretty much the question was asked was, do we have an expectation that celebrities get involved in politics and make their positions known online? And so I thought about it, and I'm like, do I really want to answer this question? Because I could go on and on and on about my thoughts. And I'm like, absolutely. So I wrote the journalist back, and I just said, and you guys can take it as you will, because I think as we kind of think about your brands and your businesses and what you stand for, a failure to respond is a response, especially when it comes to the issues politically that are coming up. But also there are instances where there is no expectation for you to provide a response. And when you do, you get canceled. So it's like, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. I want to reference that we already have an episode that talks about this with a crisis comms expert. His name was Ed Zeitron. So if you go back in I think 2 seasons ago, we covered cancel culture and we talked about it a little bit, but I just wanted to bring it up to date. So her first question was, are we seeing this massive shift of celebrities that have to align with political parties? And I just told her that's kind of hard to answer because maybe behind closed doors, they've always aligned with a political party, but maybe we just haven't seen it publicized on social media at the rate and by which we're seeing it. And so, it's kind of hard too, because here's how I explained it to her. So say you have XYZ celebrity, and outside of their Hollywood movies, or maybe they're an entertainer, and outside of their song and their artistry, they have made it clear that here's the issues that I align with. It could be, I support nonprofits that help with domestic violence victims, or I support nonprofits for teen mothers, or I align with XYZ cause. And let's just say they're doing it. They've set up a foundation, which a lot of NBA and NFL athletes do. And we're making it known that these are the causes that we align with, in addition to some of these other things. So in marketing, we call them content pillars, where we'll sit down with the client and we say, for your brand or your business, you just need to focus on these 4 areas. And you're just going to repeatedly post on social media, throughout the website, with all your messaging, these 4 things that align with your values. So it's the same with athletes and celebrities. There's nothing different when it comes to their brands, where it's like, maybe where I went to Magic in Las Vegas for the fashion trends. I think it was in August when I went, and they said that the tunnel with the athletes, when they're going through the tunnel and getting off the tour bus, that is the new runway. So we've seen a lot of athletes change and shift their pillar to fashion. We're seeing what they wear when they arrive to their cities. We're seeing how they wear it when they're coming down the tunnel. And we're also seeing a post-game outfit. I'm just thinking about how they just follow Angel Reese everywhere. So fashion is a pillar. There could be family. That's another pillar. And then one of the other pillars may be those causes that they align with. So where does that kind of put them in a sticky spot? Well, right now, there's a bunch of anti-abortion things going on, or there's a bunch of DEI, no DEI, social justice, racial justice. Even in terms of It Ends With Us and this whole debacle going on with Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni and, potential sexual assault allegations and all these things. If you're a person that has been raw about these issues, and then something big comes up politically, because you have put yourself out on the forefront for supporting LGBTQIA+, when things come up, or there is a politician that is against that, your audience is sitting back to see how you're going to respond, especially if you've responded to everything else. All of a sudden it's like, why are you quiet? Or we're waiting on a statement from so-and-so. We're waiting on you because your voice matters. You built this platform. You have a large enough platform to make an impact. Are you going to say something? So as I said before, that is, to me, the distinguishing factor, is because you have set a precedent that this is something that you care for. You have posted it numerous amounts of time to train the audience that follows you that this is something that I care about. So you can't go quiet when things are going on politically and just say, I'm going to sit this one out, when your audience expects that. And that's when the cancel culture potentially will kick in, right? So I gave her that one instance. I said the other flip side is if you're a brand or a business and nobody is asking you for that. So let's just say, I don't know why I'm thinking about batteries right now, y'all. Maybe because I was changing one in the remote. I don't know. Let's just say you're Duracell batteries. I may follow Duracell for the Duracell, or no. Let's change it from Duracell to Energizer, because they have the Energizer bunny. I follow Energizer to see the Energizer bunny, okay? Beat his little drum and walk around like a little robot, right? I am not looking for Energizer batteries or the Energizer bunny to talk to me about politics. I'm just not. So if all of a sudden Energizer takes this stance and posts it on social media, claiming one side or the other, when your audience is not asking you for that, you have just set yourself up to be in the muck and potentially receive that cancellation, especially if you've built that audience that's a blend of all of the different political parties, which a lot of these celebrities we're talking about, their followers are a blend of all of those. But if you've been following them long enough, you kind of get an idea where they stand on issues. So for some of y'all, we're not asking you for that. And it's funny sometimes because you can go in the comments and people will say, we really didn't ask you for this, ... And I have commented that on several brands' pages where we weren't asking for this. It's like you voluntold on yourself, but we do not look to you to do those things. So that's where you have to weigh it is, have I voiced and communicated my messaging and values on my platforms where people know that these are the things that I care about? And now that they're being brought up, politically, do I have a responsibility to respond? Now, here's where audiences need to give a little grace. So let's say in the instance of a celebrity or an athlete or someone who has an actual brand endorsement, as much as they may want to shout from the rooftops what they don't agree with, now you're tied contractually and legally to XYZ brand. They're paying you millions of dollars per year to be their spokesperson or be one of their ambassadors. And I don't know why Lululemon is coming off the top of my head. So let's just use Lululemon as an example. Let's say I'm a famous XYZ celebrity, and Lululemon is my I'm a spokesperson for them, or I do a brand ambassadorship with them, and many, many years ago. So this is factual. I'm not making this up. The CEO came out and said that a particular demographic within the Black community was not their demographic. And so let's just say I come out during the Black Lives Matter movement or alongside all these DEI, and I am rah, hardcore social, racial justice, this, and that, while receiving money and under a contractual obligation from an entity that's kind of like anti in some of that, right? Then that puts me at a legal risk. And I think sometimes audiences don't consider that, especially for some of these higher profile athletes. Like maybe they want to speak out, but they don't because of the NFL, and maybe there's a contractual obligation with the NFL, the NBA, major leagues, whatever. Maybe they're represented by a Nike or an Adidas, and there's all these things about what they can and can't say online, and you guys are getting pissed at them. Now, taking it a step further, they could be like a Colin Kaepernick. Recently, we saw this with Issa Rae, who I absolutely love, creator of Insecure, an amazing, amazing creative mind, writer, producer out of Hollywood, who, despite having whatever obligation she had with the Kennedy Center, I don't know if she was supposed to speak or present or what it was, but as soon as the current president became a chair for the Kennedy Center, she declined to show up for her engagement. And then someone else recently that's really popular in Black Hollywood just rolled off the board or declined. And so that's the other thing, is like you have the contractual obligation. You're bound legally with said brand, but you decide that you are going to go with your values. And you're going to go with what you believe in spite of. And so we see some of those athletes or entertainers or celebrities that say, I believe in what I believe in, justice, 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 or I don't believe in what this brand is doing, and they risk it all. But that is few and far between. And so there really isn't a straight answer. I think at the end, she just asked me, is it beneficial in today's climate to take a side? And I just said, as I stated before, it's only beneficial in today's climate to take a side if your audience expects that from you. I can't really say whether or not Taylor Swift's audience expected her to choose a political candidate, But she sure is a single woman who owns a bunch of cats who's not married, right? And our current president went in on that demographic, and she had had enough, and she spoke up and then endorsing the other candidate, right? And so at the end of the day, it was like, I can't say for one way or another if her audience expected that from her. But she is receiving a little bit of backlash, but she's Taylor Swift. She gonna be all right. But what we did not expect, and it was not beneficial for Snoop Dogg to perform at the inauguration, because for all of these years, you have the Black community as a demographic. You rose to success through gangster rap. You know what I mean? The people you surround yourself with, uphold and empower you to do the same. And so whether or not, and then there was also some footage and an audio that resurfaced of him saying how he would never sell out. So here's the values and the things that you've trained your audience on. So it definitely felt like you just yanked the rug out from under their feet when you decided that, screw that, I'm going to perform. And then people speculated that maybe he received some stocks or shares, or maybe he received some sort of financial contribution under the table that we didn't know about. There was just all these alleged rumors about why he did it in spite of his values and what he said he believed in before. We don't know. But that is a case of someone definitely losing a lot in their public image because they went against their values and spoke out when nobody was asking you for that, Snoop Dogg. Not one person. We want you to talk about gin and juice. We want you to talk about how we can live our best life. We want you to talk about some green, and we want to make sure your hair is laid. That's the value system. That's what we're looking for from you. Oh, and you were great when you were our unofficial spokesperson for the Olympics. That is it. We weren't looking for you to be involved in politics. Hell, probably half of us didn't even think maybe that. I'm not even going to go there. He's very intellectual, but for a lot of these folks, we're not expecting you to even know the difference between the House and the Senate. Okay. We're looking for you for entertainment. Gosh. So it is a double-edged sword for a lot of these celebrities in politics, but you can take this same mindset for your business and your brand, asking yourself, what are my content pillars for marketing, for PR, for my website, for all the things that I'm doing? What is my company or my personal brand's value? And then when you see something come across, your desk, or you see something come across where you feel like you want to comment on it, ask yourself, does my audience expect to hear this from me? And weigh it. Because if they do not, and especially if you have to even ask yourself, who makes up my audience? Because if you have a blend between all of them, right? Democrat, Republican, independent, very liberal, very whatever, you have to think of if it's a nice, healthy, balanced blend between all of them, you really need to think twice about how you want to position your brand when it comes to responding to things politically. Now, if you really want to make it clear, this is what we stand for when it comes to justice and racial justice and social justice, go for it. But just remember the ramifications that come with that. I'm not telling you not to do it or not. I'm just saying you have to think 10, 15, 20 steps ahead. Maybe you don't respond to it from your company's perspective. Again, I'm buying batteries from you. I'm buying, playing cards from you, very basic playing cards. I'm not looking for you to tell me what you believe in. I'm coming for you for that one thing, but maybe on your personal pages that are perhaps private, or it's in a text thread, which I don't even advise to do that anymore because people are screenshotting a whole bunch. Go off, sis. Go off, bro. You know what I mean? But you really have to think these things through. And I think a lot of folks are just posting out of passion, and then they have to go into crisis communications because they just didn't really think about it. We're seeing that with Snoop Dogg. We're seeing it with Nelly. Nelly is damn near canceled. Somebody told me the other day, hey, Nelly's coming to Dallas. Not going. I wasn't going to go anyways, but it's really a not going for me. For me. So this is a very, I'm glad that the journalist is kind of diving a little bit deeper and getting feedback from comms professionals on how we feel about the situation. It's so funny. We did a screening here in Dallas on the documentary is called Still 9 to 5, and love the original 9 to 5 film with Jane Fonda. It had Dolly Parton in it and so many other stars. And it was right in the height of the movement where women were trying to get paid fairly, get treated fairly at work. And so it was really like, it was a comedy, but it was also against a lot of things that were going on in the U.S. politically. And so it was just very interesting in the documentary, along these same lines of what we've been talking about, to hear Dolly Parton say that she was actually super nervous to do the film. And the reason that she was nervous to do the film was because her audience blend was everybody. And she didn't want to offend one or the other. She's like, I just want to sing. So she was just thinking 10, 15, 20 steps ahead. And thinking about, you know, if I do this and I do it boldly and loudly, this could end my career. And she didn't say it. She alluded to it in the documentary. And then a friend of mine, actually, who sat on the panel following the screening of the documentary, so she was on the panel with the director, said, you know, I was born in 1983. Okay. So the person who was talking to me is an older mentor. And she says around that time, Jane Fonda, who was one of the main characters in 9 to 5, was very, very radical. And they highlighted that in the documentary. And me, again, I'm an 80s baby and I was super young. I didn't watch 9 to 5, I don't think, until the 2000s. But in the documentary, it highlights all of Jane Fonda's activism, and she was rowdy for women's rights. And so my friend was telling me that during that time, she could see why Dolly didn't want to be aligned with Jane, because Jane was more along the radical side of her activism and politics. And here you have neutral Dolly that's just like, my audience is a blend of all of these. If I'm aligned with her, that could potentially affect my career and affect it in a very, very negative way. And so this isn't new what we're evaluating. This is Dolly Parton talking about it in this documentary that was released a couple of years ago about the issues she's faced then. Then we even saw it in present day. Beyonce releases Cowboy Carter, right? She got permission from Dolly Parton to do Jolene. Dolly Parton publicly comes out and acknowledges that she got permission, or that she gave Beyonce permission to re-record and do her rendition of Jolene, and that she loved it. On top of that, Dolly Parton is featured on Beyonce's Cowboy Carter album. But what we see happen is once the AMAs came out, and I think there was some questions on the red carpet, or some questions arose on whether or not Dolly Parton aligned with the fact that Beyonce was a country artist, or it could have been something around the fact of whether she deserved an award or something like that. And Dolly didn't necessarily take Beyonce's side. She didn't even say whether she considered her a country artist. It was more of that she felt like the others were kind of country and they've been around a lot longer and which kind of ticked some folks off. But again, here we are seeing Dolly Parton all these years later, post 9 to 5, still taking the same stance as if, I'm not pissing off my current audience on because it is highly political. We saw it with Kendrick Lamar in the Super Bowl. Cowboy Carter, whether you like it or not, is a clapback to things that are happening socially and racially and politically, whether you want to believe it or not. So Dolly didn't want to get in the mix of that. She still affirmed Beyonce, but she did it in a way that didn't get her in trouble. And so folks can take a look at that and, get some tips from Dolly themselves on how to handle situations such as that. But it's completely up to you guys. So this is your short episode for today. Just something for you to think about. Does my brand require me to speak up on political issues? And if I do, what is the consequence of that? I'll use myself as an example. I've worked on numerous projects here in Dallas that deal with many, many, many different issues within the city, many that deal with justice. I mean, I'm an attorney, so I always like to put forth effort when I feel like something is right and or wrong. However, those that have known me and have known me for a while know that I will speak up when it's time to speak up. So when I do it, whether it's from my company or whether I do it from a personal branding standpoint, they're not surprised because this is the tone that I've set from the beginning. And so I don't mind that if I speak out on an issue, particularly when it comes to things that are happening in the city of Dallas, if somebody wants to write me off or if somebody wants to go off on social media or if somebody wants to do X, Y, and Z, because I have been doing that for a very long time. And people know like, oh, here comes Leah. Here comes Leah. She's going to say something and she's going to da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Okay. They expect that from me, but do they expect that from you and your business and your brand? Maybe not. So maybe you can take a breather and take a chill pill and just worry about batteries. You know what I mean? Worry about playing cards. Don't be getting yourself all wrapped up in the rest of this. And if you want to, because you feel so strongly about it, hire a crisis communications expert. Please, please, please. Or at least take a listen to my prior episode that talks about navigating cancel culture. It really, 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 really help. So I hope you're good with this episode. Very short, just my thoughts. Maybe that's what I'll name it. Just my thoughts. But coming up on future PR Yourself episodes, we're going to dissect the Super Bowl Kendrick Lamar performance and why it was absolutely genius, whether you liked it or not, on the next episode. And following that, I have an ultra dynamic interview with the celebrity CEO, Ramon Ray. It was such a good interview with Ramon. He teared up. I hope he doesn't get mad at me for saying that, but I have it on camera. And it was very authentic and genuine. And I can't wait for you guys to meet him and be connected with him. He is fabulous when it comes to creating your own brand and being your own celebrity CEO. And so if you like this episode, you know what to do. You're going to like it. You're going to share it. You're going to comment on it. If you're not subscribed to PR Yourself with Leah Frazier, you're going to subscribe, because I am reaching out to some folks that are in the midst of some hot topics to see if they'll come on. And so you're not going to want to miss it. You're just not going to want to miss it. If you have questions, you know what you can do. You can go to PR Yourself Podcast on Instagram and shoot me a little message in my DMs on future episodes you like to see, or maybe it's a PR issue that you are currently tackling. I answer all of the DMs as fast as I can, and I really want you to find value in this podcast, which, by the way, is number 6 in the world. Thank you to all of you who have made this happen. And so, like, comment, share, and until next time.